Well, Shabbat Shalom and welcome. This is Torah Study for Shabbos morning. I'm Rabbi Ed Feinstein here in rainy Southern California, joined by one of my favorite rabbis and teachers on this planet, the
Mm.
great Rabbi Noah Kushner of the aptly named Kitchen in San Francisco. Noah, welcome. It's a delight to share Torah with you this morning.
It's such an honor to be here. You are truly one of my favorite teachers.
Oh, thanks. It's wonderful to be with you. So many of you know that this last week, I lost my father, Dov Feinstein, 98 years old. Formerly a kibbutznik in Israel, he was the kibbutz baker on Kibbutz Amir and one of the founders of Kibbutz Barkai, which is on the road now between Hadera and Afula. Labor Zionist for his whole life and believed, as did the labor Zionists, in avodah, which means it's a wonderful play on words in Hebrew. It means both work and worship. And my pop did both. He worked, and his work was his worship. He was a baker. He owned a bakery, and he worked incredibly long hours. My brothers and I spoke about this at his memorial because it was his great dream that even though he didn't get to finish college, we would. And so we counted up between the four of us, his four sons and their spouses, his nine grandchildren and his five great grandchildren. We have a total of something like 50 college degrees of every kind. And because Pop really respected learning and loved coming to our synagogue, to Valley Beth Shalom, because he became an acolyte of the great Harold Schulweis and then a dear friend of Rabbi Schulweis's because of learning. And we remember him this morning. So this morning, because Dad loved learning, so this morning's learning is dedicated to his memory. This is exactly what he would be wanting me to do during the Shiva, to be learning and his memory. And nobody better than this wonderful, wonderful poetic Rabbi Kushner to join us this morning. So this morning we opened Torah to Parshat Toldot, ironically, which is the story of our history. The word Toldot means your history. It's our story. And it begins with the birth of Jacob and Esau. Of course, Jacob is going to be our namesake. So this, in many deep ways, is the story of our Jewish identity. Where did Jacob come from? He's our namesake. And the story, of course, is a kind of brutal story, frankly. And if I were writing the Torah over again, I don't know if I would share this with people because it's not a pretty picture. Put it this way. The great psychiatrist Sigmund Freud posited that human development and human history are guided by our relationship to our parents, what he called the Oedipal complex. He didn't understand women at all. So for men, he said, little boys, somewhere around age 3, fall in love with mommy and they want mommy, but that means overcoming daddy. And daddy's too big and strong to overcome. So the little boy becomes daddy, identifies with masculinity, and that's the role that we take on for the rest of our lives. And that Oedipal complex of wanting mommy and having to overcome daddy, that's the driving force of human history and human development, posited Freud. The Bible has a different idea. The Bible says that it's our relationship with our siblings, that it's in trying to get along with our siblings and sharing the blessings of our parents that makes us who we are and determines the course of human history. Because the question is, why is human history marked with so much conflict? And the answer is the simple as what's given in this Torah portion, because we have two brothers and one blessing. And the question is, who gets it? Who gets it? And the struggle between these brothers and blessings. So, Rabbi Kushner, you have successfully and beautifully raised three beautiful daughters. Tell us something about sibling rivalry as a psychological dynamic in a healthy, loving family.
Well, I'm actually thinking of a midrash about the moment where, the famous moment where Jacob steals Esav's birthright, right? Remember, Esav is starving. It's all he can think about. He's starving. And in a really easy read, Jacob, he prepares for that moment. He cooks for him and he says, "Don't you want this stew? And if you take the stew, I'll take your birthright." But the rabbis complicate it and they say that there's a little dialogue that goes on between the brothers. And says to Jacob, "Well, what are you cooking?" He says, "I'm making lentils." says, "Why are you making lentils?" He says, "Because I am, lentils is a food of mourning when Abraham dies." And he says, I'm mourning Grandpa Abraham. Grandpa Abraham just died, and I want to have his love for the rest of my life. And
Mm.
so I am making these lentils. And Esav says, "You're an idiot. He's dead. There's no such thing. All we really have is what we have in front of us. I need to eat, and you're foolish. This is a fool's errand." To which Jacob says, "Well, if it doesn't matter and nothing in the future matters, sell me your birthright."
Mm.
So now we just have a more complicated narrative of two visions of the world. One in which says, "I'm hungry. I need to eat. There's food here. I got to take it no matter what the price is."
Give me, give me, give me, give me, give me. It's the consumerist philosophy.
Yes. And by the way, if we don't eat, we actually don't live. So we do need to eat. We need things that are in front of us. We need material things. And yet we have another idea. And I also like this story because Jacob comes off looking a little better.
Mm.
Um, but he is looking to the past. He's remembering his grandfather, and he's considering how to extend that love into the future.
Mm.
And we have two different versions of the world. I'm not really answering your question, but I'm a good rabbi, so
No,
I'm
no,
not.
no, no, but it's fine. It's the psychological insight into the characters. And this is the prelude story, of course, to show us who these two characters are because we know nothing about them except for the tiny little note that Esav was an outdoors guy who liked to go wrestle alligators. And Yaakov was Ish Tamot Yoshevo Halevi was a simple man who stayed home. He was intense and he was intense, right? We always like to think that he wore Bill Blass blazers and made cappuccino and filled out the New York Times crossword with a pen and played word games with his mother while Esav was outside wrestling, bears and alligators. And then comes the scene where the blessing is given, right? Isaac is blind and says to his son Esav, "Go hunt me something. I'm hungry and I'll give you my blessing." And Rebekah overhears this and says to her son Yaakov, "Go put on his clothes and I will make something for mom, for dad, and you'll get the blessing." And the great suspense of the question of that story, of course, is does Isaac know what's going on or is he fooled? Because Jacob walks in with the dish that Rebecca has prepared, and 5 times Isaac asks him, "Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? What are you doing here?" So how do you read this story? First of all, what does it take? What does it take for a what does it what all of these characters have such an interesting psychology? What does it take for the wife to set one son against the other? What does it take for the old blind father to bless one and not bless the other? And what does it take for Yaakov? The only straight character in the whole story is Esav, who's like a simple guy. He does what his dad tells him to do. And why do
Me,
we tell this story about ourselves? I have so many questions.
me
Rabbi
too.
Kushner, help us understand this, please.
Well, I want to take it back a few verses where, Rebecca's pregnant with twins. And it says Vayirotetsu. They literally, it's reflexive, like they're running around in her womb.
Oof.
And she asked one of the greatest questions of the tradition. And a lot of times we focus on the answer that she gets, which is also very interesting. And it's a very interesting parasha and Genesis. So there's a lot to focus on. But just her question, Im ken lama ze anochi, if so, why do I exist?
Right.
Is one of the great questions. And depending on how you read what she does next and the answer, it changes the whole story. So the first thing I would just suggest is, the rabbis they're great at a lot of things, but they don't know a lot about pregnancy. And so when it says that the twins are struggling, they say, "Oh, she's got birth pain, she has she's physically uncomfortable," and that's a straight read. It's an interesting read. But I actually think her pain is more existential because I know women who've been pregnant who like throw up 7 times a day and go to work. I know women who are pregnant who, they run marathon. Like, we can do things.
Right.
And men, women, we can do lots of things. But I think her question is more, is this pain for nothing?
Mm,
It's not just I have pain. We all have pain. But is this just for nothing? Am I suffering for nothing? What is this about?
mm,
Because I think there's a big difference in our lives between having something that is difficult and painful, that is life, and then making meaning from that, finding a way to make meaning from that,
right.
which maybe is my meta way of answering your question of like, why are we reading this story? Because we all have these chapters that are excruciating.
Mm.
And this story is trying to help us make mean that our project of reading this story helps us make meaning of it.
Well, so and the Midrash does something beautiful with it because it gives her the gift of prophecy. And the gift of prophecy tells her that the thing that she's complaining about is not the prepartum difficulty. The gift of prophecy, it tells her that these two boys are going to struggle inside of her forever, outside of her forever. These two boys are going to be at each other's throats. And the tradition always identified Esau first as Rome, and then as every enemy we ever had, right? And Yaakov is the Jewish people. And a mother who looks into the future and says, "Oh my God, what is this I am birthing here? What is
I mean,
this
I
Hashem?"
also just like I wonder what you think of this. If she gets this oracle, which by the way, a whole other beautiful thing is that I think she goes up to Moriah to get it. Which on the
Mm,
one hand, you'd be like, okay, that's the famous place. That's where the temple's going to be. Like, of course she goes there. On the other hand, for her to climb a mountain being pregnant with twins, there's a lot of places she could go.
mm,
But that is the place where really serious things happen. In any case, I wonder what you think about the fact that she receives this oracle and then does so much work to make that oracle come true. Like you would think if you knew these two are going to struggle, one's going to serve the other, then you kind of just sit back and watch it happen. Like why does she take such explicit tactical pains to make sure that that is indeed the case?
right.
Does she think she's supposed to fulfill it?
Or is she trying to manipulate it so that the one she favors, the one she thinks is more worthy, comes out the winner in the end, right?
Yeah. The older will
I'm so,
oh,
but see, one of the interesting features of this story is the way that the parents cross,
yeah.
right? So you have Asaph, who's this outdoors kid, right? Big, strong, strapping, and he's able to do things in the world. He manipulates the world, and Isaac loves him. And Isaac turns out to be because what is Asaph? Asaph is the shadow of Isaac. Asaph is everything Isaac's not, right? Isaac is passive. Isaac is through in the Torah. Isaac is sort of weak in the Torah. Everybody has to do stuff for him, right? First, his father tries to sacrifice him. Then his father has to find him a wife. Later, his wife is going to manipulate him. He's the passive one. And so he falls in love with the son who is big and strong and strapping. And what's wonderful is, you know what's going to happen at the end of the story? I'll give away the ending. Esau is going to go live with Ishmael. Because who is Esau? Esau will be the rejected brother. Ishmael was the rejected brother. Ishmael was separated from Isaac when they were little kids, and Isaac never lost love for his big brother who was so capable. And so here's a son who mirrors Ishmael, and that's the one he falls in love with, right? And Rivka, who is, after all, she's Lavan's sister, I mean, she's crafty, she's shrewd, she falls in love with the Jacob character. He's a homebody, he makes cappuccino, he cooks soup, and she falls in love with him, and so she decides that, and it's such an interesting crossover, right? And as you read the story, I even have the idea that like Isaac has never really sat down and spoken to Jacob. They really lived separate lives. And when Jacob walks into the room with the dish, when Isaac asks him, Miata, who are you? He means it. Like, we've never spoken, or I've never gotten to know you. I've never gotten to tell me who you are, right? You were always mama's kid, not mine,
Hmm.
right? And and so Rebecca is trying to manipulate the process to come out the right way in her mind. The question is, does Isaac know? Does Isaac catch on?
Right.
That's to me the suspense. It, by the way, as you know, it's one of the most exquisitely well told stories in the whole Torah. Because as you read it through, it has so many shadows and so
Yeah.
many echoes and so many implications.
I mean, I am prone to hyperbole, but I think that when Esav is saying, "Where's my blessing?" and you can hear it
Oh,
in the
oh,
trope,
oh God. Yeah.
I think we can all relate to that moment from so many different perspectives. And
Right.
it's ironic because, Rabbi Jonathan Sacks of blessed memory points out that he does receive a pretty good blessing.
Yeah. But it's
It's
not the
just
one he
not the
wanted.
one he wanted.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. So the first question is, does Isaac know what he's doing? Because he keeps asking, "Who are you, kid?" He
Yeah,
knows something's not right. And he
yeah,
doesn't call in a servant and say, "Tell me who this is." Doesn't even ask his friend God and say who this is. Doesn't call in Rebecca and
yeah.
say
He's
who's.
supposed to be clairvoyant.
And I think it's very clear that he knows who he is. That's
Yeah.
the game of the story.
Hmm.
And then so there's two pieces of this that always impress me. Number one is that when he makes the famous statement, which is the sort of emblem of this Torah portion, the hands are the hands of Esau, but the voice is the voice of Jacob.
Yeah.
That's the blessing.
Mm.
So my son, you are half a man. Because in
Hmm.
mythology, a twin is half a person.
Yeah.
You know, your brother got the your brother got the Mr. Hyde part. You got the Dr. Jekyll. Your
Hmm.
brother got the shadow, you got the principal.
Hmm.
You have to find integrity before you're anybody.
Mm.
Go out and find that part of yourself,
Mm.
which is going to be Jacob's quest for the rest of his life. Go
Mm.
out and find the part of yourself that you're
Right.
missing. But
Right.
then the part of the story, and I asked you earlier about sibling rivalry, and
Yeah.
we know this as siblings, and we know this as parents.
Hmm.
I mean, I want to scream at the end of the story exactly for what you said.
Hmm.
Who told Isaac he only had one blessing?
Right.
Who told him he only had one blessing?
Right.
What? You have a God of the universe. There's not enough room
Right.
for an Esau and a Yaakov, for an Ishmael and and an Isaac,
Right.
for a Yosef and his brothers. There's not
Right.
enough room for the sibling. What parents that way?
No, in fact, I mean, there's so many associations, but something I've been thinking about really since the holidays is this beautiful midrash in Midrash Tehillim, where it talks about, that famous line from Hallel, the castaway stone becomes the cornerstone, right? Evan Masu, and they start off by saying Abraham and Isaac had this cast off stone because Abraham had Ishmael and Isaac had Esav and they said but Jacob made all of his 12 children the cornerstone.
Yeah.
And I think what's so interesting is first of all Jacob seems to do just what you're saying. And Jacob's sons have some problems, right? But he and you could see them being cast off, but somehow they each become the heads of tribes. And I think this is definitely my version, but I think the Midrash is implicitly criticizing Abraham and Isaac and saying,
Sure.
why didn't you do the same?
I would say, I mean, to go a little deeper on this, or rather the other metaphor, a little higher on this, what the Torah is trying to do is tell us there is a dark side to monotheism.
Hmm.
Monotheism, the idea of one God, is supposed to be the ultimate inclusivity, the
Right.
ultimate embrace of differences into one, because we're all the creatures of one and we're all part of the one. And that's your task in the world. But there is a warped version of monotheism which sees an exclusivity. We have the truth and you don't. We are the chosen ones and you're not. We are the children of light and you are the children of darkness. That binary division, that's a warp, that's a warped monotheism. And I think what the Torah is trying to say here is if that's your monotheism, you got it wrong.
Yeah.
You got it wrong.
Yeah.
Because the ultimate end of that is endless warfare,
Right. We go back to
endless
Cain and
conflict.
Abel.
Cain and Abel. Exactly right. And that's why the most common sung verse of the entire Bible is Hine matovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad from the book of
Right.
Psalms. How good and sometimes incredibly rare it is that
Yeah.
brothers can be together, that children can find oneness with each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And for those of us as parents, it's don't fall into that game. Kids are allowed to have those fantasies because they're kids. They're figuring it out, but our job is to rise above that.
And to find a blessing for each one. So I often imagine, I did this once actually as an exercise here in Shul. I had a panel of three family therapists, and we read this story together.
Mm,
All right, so I want you to imagine the
mm,
Isaacson family comes into or the Abramson family comes into your study, Rabbi Kushner. And here is Papa Isaac, who can't see real well and is a little out of it. And here is Mama Rebecca, who's awfully strong. And here is the kid in the football jersey asking when he can get out and play again, go out and play ball. And here's the other one in a fancy, in nice pressed slacks and loafers looking at you, and this family is having a hard time getting along.
mm,
Okay, Rabbi, what would you say to this family?
mm, mm, mm.
What therapy would you, where would you start the therapy for this family?
Well, I think isn't it going back to something that you said earlier, which is, Esav has what Jacob needs and Jacob has what Esav needs. And the only way through is really together.
Mm,
In fact, if you think about later on when Jacob wrestles with the angel, I've been thinking about this. What is his big demand that he keeps demanding as he wrestles with this angel all night? Bless me.
bless me.
Where do you think he learned that?
Yeah,
He learned that from Asaph. He was there when Asaph was screaming. Everybody could hear it.
yeah.
He's still learning from Asaph.
Mm,
And I think what's hard is, and it goes to your beautiful comment of, when we think of ourselves or our people, or, we think we don't need each other, we're just lost. We have to start from the place of, if we want the bracha, it's going to require recognizing what we need, what we don't have. And there are things I'll never have. But the people around me, I think about this all the time. I wonder how you think about this with such a vibrant community. Like, different people have different mitzvahs that they can do,
hmm
right? Like, my husband's a really good baker. Your Abba was a really good
Oh,
baker.
the best. Yeah.
I can't bake at all.
I can teach you.
I doubt it.
Oh, you don't know.
But I'm saying, but not everyone's a baker. Some people read Torah really well. Some people are great at comforting. Some people are great at teaching. Some people, know every ta'am, the Moroccan ta'amim, the Syrian ta'amim, different people know different things, and we need each other.
Oh, that's
That's on a
beautiful.
that's on a base, and then on the emotional level, we can't make it without each other.
That's a beautiful Torah. So let me add one piece to that Torah, can I?
Yeah.
Why is the principal statement of our faith Shema Yisrael? Listen up, Israel, instead of Re'eh Yisrael. Listen, look, Israel. And the answer is because when I open my eyes, I see differentiation. I see that you and me are separate. I see the colors in front of me separate. I see objects in front of me. But when I close my eyes and listen, you can do something on a piano that you can't do visually. You can create a harmony, right?
Mm,
If you hit the right keys, it's not this note or this note. It's the harmonious resonance between the notes that creates a new sound, right? And someone who knows how to play piano can do this much better than me, but they can play a chord which fills the world with a sound. Now, it's all individual notes, but you don't hear them as individual notes. You hear the sound. And that's why it's Shema Yisrael. If you want to understand oneness, you have to understand that each of us brings a note into the world that resonates with everybody else's notes.
It's beautiful. Of course, it reminds me of you cannot see me and live. You know, when God puts Moshe in the Torah and the rock, you can't see me. But then, according to the tradition, God in that moment is teaching Moses how to pray, right? And it's the famous 13 attributes, Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Vechanun. But now, as you teach, I'm imagining, what if Moshe was also saying it from the rock?
Right. Singing it. You just did it. You can't recite that without singing it. It's like,
And I had now we do in our community both Sephardi and Ashkenazi. So I would say Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Vechanun. We do both.
right, right. Well, that's one that, if I can give you a commercial, everyone listening, you need to go to San Francisco, find out when the kitchen is having Shabbos, and go enjoy that because what you're going to hear is the resonance between Ashkenazic and Sephardic melodies in a San Francisco setting. And the resonance of those three notes is exquisite.
It's really,
It's
I never expected
exquisite.
to have this at this point in my rabbinate, but I feel like somebody taught me the other half of the alphabet. I didn't have it.
Because it's again, it's the oneness. And that's what's missing from this parsha. And you
Yeah,
have it exactly right. There's a
yeah,
moment at the end of the parsha that breaks your heart.
yeah,
And it's when Asaph cries out, "Have you
yeah,
not a blessing for me, Papa?"
right,
And it's like, oh my God. Oh my God. Like,
right.
all of a sudden you feel sorry for him.
Yeah,
And you realize he's a simpleton.
yeah,
Yaakov is supposed to be Ish Tam. He's supposed to be the simple one, but he's
right.
devious. This
That's
one,
it.
he just wants to be loved and blessed. It's a simpleton. And you
Yeah.
feel for him. And of course, the Midrash says, of course,
Mm,
that
mm,
the Mashiach won't come until the tears
mm,
of Esav have run out.
mm,
If
mm.
that's the way someone walks the world, you are in a very big trouble,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and I think right now it's a hard time in our world, and so it's hard to think about opening the heart and having compassion. It's
Mm,
just harder. But this is maybe, that's the beautiful thing about reading the same stories every year. They have something different to teach us every year. So this
yeah.
year, it may be just listen to Asaph.
Just hear it, and
Mhm,
cry with him. Maybe a
mhm,
little.
mhm.
You want to give the kid a hug, is what you want.
And also like, look, I want to cry sometime. Like I think there are points where we feel like that too.
Right.
And it gives voice to that.
It gives voice to that. So let's finish with a word.
Mm,
Let's be personal about this. We're both parents. We're both children.
mm,
We're both siblings.
mm,
Give me a word to parents about parenting that comes from this parsha.
mm. I think this is a family that's incredibly fragmented.
Hmm.
So there's so much charade, and we see how easy it is to fall into that charade. And maybe the truth or maybe the diagnosis is just Emmett.
Mm,
Just try to tell the truth. And in fact, this is what I think we're responding to in Esav. He's telling the truth, but he's the only one.
yeah, because it's in darkness that this happens, right? And it's the darkness of this family system,
There's a lot of charade.
right? Right.
So, I think it's maybe just to try to find something true to say.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And Emet, of course, is Aleph and Taf, the beginning and the end, the two
Mhm.
letters, and Mem in the middle, which means it's the all. And you
Yeah.
got to find room for the all,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And I would simply say that the task here, I think Father Isaac misunderstood, right? Like nowhere do we have a story about Abraham blessing Isaac.
Well, this is something I've thought a lot about also as a rabbi's kid because,
Ooh, careful.
well, but, and as a rabbi with kids,
Yeah,
it says Abraham gives Isaac everything he has, but God blesses Isaac. And I also, the way, this is my way of saying, even if we can't make all the blessings that we really could or should, maybe God also helps the children find those blessings.
that's it. That's beautiful. It's not that I call down blessings from heaven upon my child. My child has a blessing in him, in her. She is a blessing. What I'm reminding her is that she is a blessing. And I'm reminding him that he has a blessing within. And I'm reminding him that wherever he goes and whatever he does in the world, he has to find that blessing and make it big and make it strong and make it powerful and make it the reason he's alive, she's alive. And that's what we're trying to do.
And we could say actually, as limited as Isaac is in this moment, both Esau and Jacob go and do that, and they forgive each other.
Oh, you're giving away the end of the story. There is a moment at the end of the story, which is, I think, this incredible sort of moment, right? Where the two brothers will embrace. And right? And what does Jacob say when he embraces his brothers 21 years from now? He would two parts, 2 weeks from now, 21 years from now, and 2 weeks in the Torah. And what does Jacob say? Seeing your face is like seeing the face of God, which is like, that's it. This is the blessing. Finally, I found the piece of me, right? Thank you for learning with us this morning. This is so beautiful.
Such a pleasure.
Such
Thank
a joy.
you.
Take good care and
Thank
take
you,
good care
Rabbi.
of everyone in the kitchen and anyone listening. I'm serious. You don't
Please
have,
come to San Francisco. We'd love
I'm,
to see
I'm
you.
inviting you, because
He's
it,
going to be our teacher in a few weeks. He
in a
can come
couple of
and
weeks
do it all.
well, you want to hear Rabbi Kushner too. So please come and enjoy this beautiful musical experience. Thank you for joining us all. Have a quiet and a peaceful Shabbos. Take good care.